Well, hello and welcome back for another episode of Moving Forward with Arthritis. Oh, it's the change of seasons. The spring is upon us. If you're listening at another time, know that this has been recorded in the spring. Why does that matter so much to me? It's twofold. It's two things. One, love it. I love that there's no more snow. I don't worry about slipping and falling on the ice. Always a concern. It's nice outside. It looks nice. But on the other side, I don't know about you, if you're listening and have the same issues as I do, but spring, the change of seasons, and I'll say it in the fall to winter as well, but mostly in the spring. I don't know. Spring's kind of a trigger for certain things. The little flare up of the psoriasis on the back of my neck. And yeah, we break out the prescription for that. Also a little more aches and pains with the barometric pressure, the temperature changes. And then, of course, I have allergies, which really doesn't have anything to do with arthritis, but it just complicates the world. However, I couldn't be happier that spring is here. And spring has also been a huge, huge thing at the Arthritis Society of Canada because I'm going to call it a blockbuster report, just came out as spring was, just in its infancy here. And today we're going to be talking about that along with the great work that's done at the Arthritis Society with the president and CEO, Trish Barbato. We'll be right back to talk about all of that.
Moving Forward with Arthritis with Sharon Caddy.
Welcome back. Trish Barbato, welcome to Moving Forward with Arthritis.
Thanks, Sharon. So great to be here.
Great to have you. You are one busy lady. Now, Trish is the president and CEO of the Arthritis Society, which is a massive job to begin with. But wow, you head up other things. You head up the Menopause Foundation of Canada, community meditation, and I understand you're a black belt in Kung Fu.
Yeah, that was a while ago. So I wouldn't want to pick a fight with anyone at the moment, but.
No, but it gave me some hope that said your golf game is still in progress, as is mine.
That's right.
We have that in common. That's fantastic. Well, the Arthritis Society does so many great things, which we'll get to, but I want to start right away by focusing on the report. And as we get into the report, arthritis is such a pervasive thing. And I'm going to call it a thing because it's not one thing. Mm-hmm. It's so many things. Could you give us a little background as to just how much this affects our Canadian population?
Yeah, Sharon. So I feel like arthritis is so misunderstood. It's a real underdog in the sense that it's extremely pervasive. There's 6 million Canadians who have arthritis, 1 in 4 women, 1 in 6 men. People get arthritis at all ages. Osteoarthritis is the biggest subtype of arthritis. Osteoarthritis, we have a third of the population who are under 45 when they're diagnosed with osteoarthritis. Half the population with arthritis is under 65 years of age. So it's a real myth that it's an older person's disease. I think on the autoimmune side, which is what you have, and I think it's a real women's health issue. 80% of autoimmune diseases affect women. And you know how serious that is. So, it's a complex disease. There's over 100 types. Many of them are in the rare disease category because there's so few people that have them. Very, very hard to diagnose. We have folks that tell us they take 7, 8, 9, 10 years to get a diagnosis, which is totally unacceptable.
It's true. And it's also what I've come up against from time to time is that it's one of the invisible diseases. It's something that if you meet me face to face, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know sometimes unless you're watching me walk up and I'm having one of the really bad days where it's affecting me a great deal or I'm still recovering from a surgery. Then you can see it, but it's not an obvious thing. And sometimes because we're just living our lives moving forward every day, we don't lead with, hey, hi, I'm Sharon, I have arthritis. Now let's talk about what we were going to talk about. And I think it's hidden a lot from people.
Yeah, and we hear that it happens in so many ways, and you probably experience this yourself. A choice to take the elevator over the stairs, or someone else is having to hold something for you who might be your mother and is older than you are, but you're in a flare and you can't, lift groceries or whatever. And there's a lot of judgment that comes with that. I've had kids at our camp tell me that their teacher did not believe that they had arthritis because, again, didn't understand the accommodations that they needed. I think it's also prevalent in workplaces where arthritis is the leading cause of disability. But again, it's, to your point, it's invisible. And for many people, you look at them, they look healthy. You have no idea what they're experiencing. And that can make it especially hard, especially at work.
And I know that as time goes on, we as a culture have gotten better with understanding and accommodating disability. But I've got to tell you, not that long in the past, I was reaching out to get a nice little side job. There was a cool little side job I thought would be great. So I filled in the application. It gets down into things like, do you have a disability? And I'll tell you, I pause, I click, I think, oh, sometimes, but no, but there's a hesitancy. Because there's that fear that if I do need accommodation, am I going to be discriminated against for a position?
Yeah, exactly. It's also extremely difficult, to your point that you made about it being episodic. So an episodic disability where you might have a flare that you can't get out of bed is very, very difficult to manage as an individual, but it's definitely difficult to manage if you're a student and you're going to school, or you're working and you're having to work with your employer. And it's difficult because you want to be reliable. But on those days, as you know, there's nothing you can do, and it's unpredictable.
Yeah. Oh boy, I look over the years at some of the things I've done or had to do, or really didn't have to do, but I felt like I had to do. And I take myself back, a little side story, which sounds funny, but was not funny. And I was working in television. I had a lifestyle show. I was going to do a story about circus school. So we went to this circus school in Toronto, and I had a co-host, and I was at the point, must have been maybe a month or two from my first hip surgery. So I was getting in the van to go, and I had to physically put my hands under my leg, lift my leg into the car because I couldn't bring it in myself. We get to the circus school. Cameras start rolling. She goes, I'll do it. Don't worry. She didn't know she had a fear of heights. So she got halfway up the ladder and froze. They had to get someone to bring her down, and I went up and did it. And it was the most painful, horrifying thing I've ever done because I didn't want to say I couldn't.
Wow.
And that's a shame. I wouldn't do that now. They also say older gets wiser. I believe that. So I wouldn't do that now.
I don't think I would have done that at any age. So good for you.
It was insane. I mean, when I was up there, I realized how much fun it would have been had I not been in so much pain. And the circus training guy, I didn't say anything about it. And of course, he was giving me a hard time because I had trouble lifting my legs and whipping him over this bar. Anyway, that's another story for another day. But let's get down to the Arthritis Action Now. When this was released, I saw it immediately in my social media. I clicked on it. Wow, what a huge undertaking. Tell us a little bit about in an overarching way, what the report is. And how long did it take to prepare that document? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm really proud of this work. Canada has never had a unified national plan for arthritis that includes the kind of components that are in this plan. This is a long-term, it's a roadmap to get us to breakthroughs, to get us to solutions for people, real solutions. So the plan was initiated, I had been thinking about this probably 4 years ago when we were thinking about our strategic plan, but then in talking to the community, it really felt like we needed something for the country. And we didn't want to wait for the government to do it. So we brought together the ecosystem. So 21 organizations came together, including patient advocacy groups, research, Canadian Rheumatology Association, Canadian Orthopedic Association, for example. And we have worked on this collaboratively, co-created over 3 years. So the plan is deeply influenced by the people who know this best. Patients, people who live with arthritis every day. We had over 100,000 interactions with people living with arthritis where we asked them, what do you wish people knew about your disease? What do you want to be different? And all of that has been infused in the plan. So the plan is like deeply grassroots, deeply grounded in the patient voice, but it is also evidence-based. So it has 3 main components. One are public policy priorities, which will be advocated for. The second, which I'm sure is of great interest to you, is the research prioritization that was completed by the researchers who are the top researchers in this country, of which we have some amazing world-renowned researchers, both in osteoarthritis and on the autoimmune side. And this group got together. It was a working group of about 30 researchers representing all institutes and major departments across the country. And they created a plan that said, like, here's what we need to do to move the agenda forward. So it was created by them, and we can implement with them. So again, this work was always created with action in mind. It was always created so that the minute it was released is the minute we start implementing, because we're ready. We're not waiting for anyone. All the relationships have been created. We have the right people in the room ready to go. And that is, to me, the thing that's most exciting, is that this plan is already alive. It's already getting implemented.
That's excellent. And you mentioned about that middle piece. That's something you're right, because I'm someone who comes from a heritage of having this. My grandmother had pretty severe arthritis. My mother, I remember being 4 years old. So this would have been in 1967. And my mother, they didn't have the treatments we have now. So my mother was in traction in the hospital. And it was at a time in 1967, I'm not even sure which disease was going on, but children were not allowed to go in and visit. So my father would drive, it's one of my earliest memories. My father would drive up and park right by where the window was for her room. And he'd leave me and my brother in the car, and he'd roll her bed over to the window so she could wave at us. And that was 1967. And we've seen a lot of advances. But of course, my grandmother, my mother, myself, and now I've got two daughters, 28 and 30 years old. And of course, they're saying, am I going to get arthritis too? And I said, maybe there's a pretty strong hereditary factor. So yeah, the advances, the research, the changes, they're huge on my radar. And it's so gratifying to see that there's a plan in place to move things forward, because I know that the research is continually going forward.
Yeah. And I think that when we focus and where we really have a clear endpoint in mind. So the plan talks about we need some foundational infrastructure to help that research in the country. So that includes a research platform for arthritis that would link data and biobanks and information. That'll be one of the very first things that must be done. But then the work is on the osteoarthritis side, is to get a breakthrough, like a real breakthrough. We have no disease-modifying drug for osteoarthritis. And on the autoimmune side, we want to get people into long-term remission as quickly as possible. That means that it's diagnosed early. The best treatment is provided as quickly as possible. As you know, right now, we have a fail-first policy. Fail first. So, you have to try this drug. And if that doesn't work, you try another drug. I have a friend who has psoriatic arthritis, and she's just starting the diagnosis. She's probably had it for at least 15 years, but it was never diagnosed properly. She is on methotrexate. Her rheumatologist feels confident she will do well on biologics or biosimilars, but she can't get to those right away. So she has to fail first. And then fight to get what they think will be the best medication for it. It should not be that way. Where do we tell people we're going to fail first? Would you tell a cancer patient that? We're going to fail first. We're going to try this one. And if that doesn't work, we're going to try this one. If that doesn't work, we're going to try this one. No, we need to find the best one to get the person in remission as quickly as possible. That's what we need to do.
And our healthcare system as a whole has great issues in that there's a huge portion of our population that doesn't even have a primary care physician. And that's your first step on the way to getting to these, whether it's a rheumatologist, whether it's an orthopedic surgeon, wherever you have to go. There's to that end, I so understand this delay in getting any kind of initial diagnosis that can get you on the road to getting somewhere. So it's a big problem.
It is, and it's very integrated, as you say, to other health challenges at the moment. But again, there are solutions. There's pockets of excellence in the country. We can learn from that, and we can move this forward. I'll give you an example. There are advanced practice clinicians who have a significant amount of training in arthritis, including being able to assess and diagnose. We can triage to them, as an example, in order to both free up physicians, but also to make sure that someone is really looking at this person and saying, okay, it's osteoarthritis. It looks like it's this. We need to get this test, and just keep the everything moving. Patients have said, even if they know what it's not, it's very reassuring. I mean, you sort of go in there with a bunch of symptoms and you're not getting a lot of answers and you're doing a lot of waiting around. So again, there are solutions and there are ways that we can get better.
Definitely. And just what you were describing there, I hear so many people that basically are relying on Dr. Google. You know, they're going to try and diagnose themselves. And I mean, that's not the most efficient way to get anything done. So definitely that needs to be addressed. So provided this action, it started now. I mean, the report's out, the right people know the action is starting. What kind of it's a long-term plan, as you mentioned. What kind of timeline do you think we're looking at for these various steps to be really implemented?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And it's the work that lies ahead in terms of starting to create some concrete milestones to say, you know, by year 1, year 3, year 5, year 10. So that is work that we need to do. And the group that brought this together, no one seems to want to break up. I mean, I laugh because I have never been involved in a committee where you've been together for 3 years and then you don't want to break up, you don't want to end, you want to keep going. Like I've just never had this experience, you know. In fact, one of the co-chairs of the research committee, brilliant man, retiring, we had a goodbye for him last week after the launch of this plan, thanked him for all his work. He just emailed to say, you know what, I would really like to help get the research platform organized. I'd like to be back on. So it's like we can't unretire people. We can't unchampion them from the group. So it's really, I think it speaks to the connection, the deep connection that people had to purpose. It's what united everyone in the first place, and it's the energy that continues to carry this forward. So it's super exciting. In fact, I am actually at the World Congress for osteoarthritis right now. Tomorrow morning, I am meeting with the Canadian researchers. We are going to review the plan. And my questions to them are, what are the first next steps? What can we get done in the next 12 months that will make a difference? How can we move the needle? And I am asking them. They are the ones that know who should be involved. Who do we need to pull together to do this? So that it's very much the plan is in play. We are already working on it.
That's fantastic for people like me, like many millions of people across the country, to see that there's passion there, that you guys are committed to getting things done. That makes such a difference for those of us who are, we're waiting for advances. We want to see things happen. I appreciate how many advances have happened to date, but there's still so much more work to do. Reading through the report as well, I really appreciated that it touched on, it's hard enough for anybody, but there are seriously some underserved segments of our population who have a particularly difficult time getting the help they need, getting the diagnoses they need.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we're also proud of is that we worked very closely with an equity group. So we had an equity working group that was made up of representation from, for example, the Indigenous community, the Black community, homeless. So people who really understood some of the challenges on top of existing challenges. But, if people don't believe you, as we hear often with the Black community, they don't believe you. They don't believe how much pain you're in. They don't appreciate that if you already work with racism in a health system where you don't trust, there are already so many barriers. And I think it's a special area in terms of empowerment, funding, really allowing those groups to find solutions that work in their communities.
That's excellent. So that kind of leads me to where I was going to be going next, which is there's a plan. You have the document, you have a plan, and you're reaching out to people, professionals and the corporations and the people who can help drive it. But how are individuals able to kind of latch on to this and be part of the movement and start to benefit and advocate for themselves?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually have an advocacy page already up, and you can send a letter. It automatically generates this. Once you put your postal code in, it'll generate a communication to your members of parliament, both provincially and federally, and the ministers of health. So it will get the plan to them so that government is aware that the plan exists, that you support it, and that you want them to pay attention to it. So that's a step that is an advocacy step that is very easy, that all of your listeners can do. And it's, again, very, very simple. So that's one way. A second way is that this plan needs money. It is very bold. It's extremely ambitious. And the pace of change, the pace at which we're going to be able to get any of this done, will rely on fundraising efforts, government grants, that kind of thing, all of which on the government side we'll be advocating for. But obviously on the fundraiser and donor side, this is an area that we'll continue to look for opportunities and partnerships and that sort of thing. I think the other way that people can get involved is to, help with the communication of the plan. So just even talking about it, do you know that we have a national plan for arthritis? It's excellent. You should look at it. So there might be other stakeholders or other partnerships that might be created based on the goals of that organization. There might be a way to leverage and lever. So I think those are just a few ways that anyone can help. Any citizen can support this.
I think it's really important that we all kind of band together and do this too, because as you mentioned, this is probably one of the most pervasive. Arthritis has got to be one of the most pervasive diseases when you take into account all the types, than anything else that we face as a health issue in our nation.
Yes, it's more prevalent than the other chronic diseases combined. Like that number is just incredible, right? In terms of the number of people affected. Yeah.
It really is. And I've got to say, this report is so huge, and you guys managed to put this together and put together what you have while still carrying on all the great work of the Arthritis Society, which I want to talk about a little bit, because it's, when I think back, I think, being the age I am, I can think way back, like when my mom was having particular issues when I was, teenager, early 20s, before the internet. And to find the Arthritis Society or any organization you needed, you had to look in the phone book and you had to make a call and it's so much easier to access things. And the Arthritis Society really does have a lot of great resources for people.
Yeah, we talk to people all the time. So arthritis.ca, you can email us, you can call us, you can chat with us. And we have wonderfully trained volunteers who have arthritis themselves, who can help people, especially, for example, when you're newly diagnosed and you may have experienced this and people are told that they need to be on these medications and they say, oh, I want to go natural, or, they have a lot of ideas about what is possible and they don't understand the severity of the disease. And so just helping them with that, helping them to find resources in their region, in their province, in their area, that can be something that we can do. We have an education series called Arthritis Talks. These are really well attended, and literally thousands and thousands of people sign on, and we bring in experts in various areas. And so the topics will range from a specific subtype, like gout or something like that. We recently had one on menopause and arthritis. So there's very varying talks that can be quite relevant to individuals. They're all on our website, so you can even look at past ones that we have there, so that you can take a look at what's relevant to you. But yes, we have really, really great evidence-based information, the latest research. We can help guide people through their diagnosis, the treatment plan, and all of that. So we're here and we're ready to help.
I've even found things that are super helpful. Like, I know, especially if you're dealing with inflammation, what you eat can make a difference. There's great resources there for addressing your eating and getting into anti-inflammatory eating. I think I got on an email list for a while. I was getting some great recipes through my email for a little while there, which was really nice. And for the young people, and I think that's, again, it's one that people don't think of arthritis right away as affecting young people, but there are camps too, right?
Yeah, those are so great. So camps for people living with arthritis across the country, and they're really life-changing. We hear this time and time and time again, both for the family, parents who feel quite challenged by the diagnosis that their child has and wanting to help. And so these camps can really be a lifeline for these kids who find other kids who have the same disease they do, who are going through the same struggles at school that they are. So lots of lifelong friendships have been created at these camps.
I believe it. I've been seeing some on the social media, actually, some nice little features about people. And again, that the juvenile arthritis aspect is something that people don't realize, but I've managed to interview a few really interesting young people who've, boy, from we're talking 6 years old being diagnosed, 10 years old being diagnosed, and getting through it with such a positive attitude and really accomplishing wonderful things. So,
yeah, they're inspiring. They're so inspiring.
They are.
Yeah,
they are.
It's amazing.
When I started talking to some of these people, and I'm thinking, when I was diagnosed just after 40, I felt like this is way too young. And then you meet these young people. And sometimes the the idiopathic arthritis that they're dealing with is incredibly severe, at times life-threatening. And they are really amazing, resilient young people. Very, very, very inspiring. So I want to send people to the Arthritis Society to check things out. Is that also, I'm going to put up a link in the show notes, but that's where you can also actually get the Arthritis Action Now report.
Yes, and advocate, get those letters out to your members of parliament.
Absolutely. I want to touch on, because I think it's stunning, when you go there and see the artwork, well, you'll see it because we're going to have a picture up here. The cover art is absolutely stunning. And it's not just at first look, and if anyone would look at it, think it's the colors are pleasing. It's almost like just a graphic image, but it's actually relevant to arthritis, right?
Yes, it is. We worked with the artists. We wanted something that's helped symbolize. At the bottom of that picture it's very red. And so people talk about their joints being very inflamed, feeling hot, being red, but moving towards light, towards being pain-free. And so it's got that imagery. It's got the imagery of the bone, the colors. So it's a beautiful, I agree with you. It's beautiful artwork.
Absolutely stunning. So yeah, everyone's going to go and download the report and print it out and look at it and read it and learn from it. And before I let you go, I'm going to a few quick questions, mostly for just your opinion. If you could pick one thing, what is the one thing you wish more people knew and understood about arthritis?
That it's a really serious disease, that it's complicated. It is not your grandmother's disease.
Is there I bet there's a million moments, it's been 3 years, but is there a moment that sticks with you from getting this report together?
There was a moment where when the group first got together, I would not say they were aligned. There had been some differences over the years with different groups. I remember telling my board, well, it's not like the best meeting I've ever had and not the worst. So, but there was a moment probably about halfway through where everything shifted, where there was a powerful shift, where people got it. It's like, oh no, we can get this done and it will make a difference. And I will have had my hand in it. And I think when that alignment, when that shifted, when that mind, then it became a real collaborative and united group that was on a mission to get this thing right, to make sure that it was inclusive, to make sure that it included everything that people thought was important for those living with arthritis. And so the diligence that people put into this, reading every word, asking about is this right? Is that right? Should we change this? I think we need to add something here. For me, that was when it was like, wow, this is going to be great. It's going to be great.
The power of a strong team, you can't beat it. And now that the report is out there, that must have been like having a baby, like getting the report out there. Now that it's out in the world, what gives you hope?
I think the research component is, in some ways, many pieces of it are very important. But I think for people living with arthritis, if you say, I want a breakthrough in osteoarthritis and I want to put everyone else in long-term remission, that's what they want. That's what patients want to hear. So we have to get that research pillar going. We need to work really diligently to make a difference in getting some of these treatments that people are looking for and aligned with advocacy and government policy changes. It's a huge lift. It's a huge lift. And we are underfunded in research. So we have a lot of work to do there, but it's the place where the most difference can be made 10 years from now, 15 years from now. So that's the one that we're going to get cracking on, and I'm very excited about.
I find this all very exciting, actually. I find it all very exciting. And to know that everyone who's listening, to share this with everyone you know, because together it's a stronger movement. If everyone joins in and advocates for themselves and for others, we'll meet and maybe beat the goals that you set. That would be pretty
Let's
cool.
do it. Let's do it, Sharon. I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in.
Well, I want to thank you so much for taking some time to talk with me today, because this has been really, I mean, when I read that report the first time, I went downstairs from my home office. I'm like, look, everything's in here. Like, this is an amazing piece of work. You guys should be so proud of it, and I know it's going to do great, great things. So, Trish, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much.
I want to send people to arthritis.ca. We're going to have a link as well up on the show notes, whether you're listening on podcast or you're watching on YouTube and on all the social media. And I want to remind everyone to join Moving Forward with Arthritis on social media. You'll find me everywhere, Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and I don't know, everywhere. I'll tell you what, go to my website, movingforwardwitharthritis.com, and there's links to all of it. So again, thanks to Trish. Thanks to all of you for once again joining, listening, and learning, and keep on moving forward with arthritis.